need you to listen to something. No, seriously, put your headphones on for this, because what I'm about to play you, it shouldn't exist. My name's Alex Chen. I'm 29 years old, and until 3 weeks ago, I worked IT support at St. Raphael's Hospital in Rochester, New York. Boring job, right? Fixing printers, resetting passwords, the usual. Except on November 8th, I got called down to the basement to digitize old 911 recordings from 1994. The hospital was upgrading their emergency systems, and they needed someone to transfer ancient reel-to-reel tapes before they got thrown out. I found something on tape number 47. A 911 call made from floor 13 of St. Raphael's Hospital. Here's the thing. St. Raphael's doesn't have a floor 13. It never has. The building goes from floor 12 directly to floor 14. I've worked there for 5 years. I've seen the blueprints. I've been in the elevator 1,000 times. But this call? It's real. The timestamp says October 31st, 1994 at 3:47 a.m. The dispatcher's voice is clear. The caller's voice is... I can't even describe it. And when I brought this to my supervisor, when I showed him the tape, he went white, like genuinely pale, and he said something I'll never forget. "Where the hell did you find that? We burned all of those." So yeah, I made a copy before they could take it. And now I'm going to tell you everything I found out about floor 13, the 47 people who died there, and why the hospital has been lying about it for 30 years. Because after I heard this call, I started seeing floor 13 too. Okay, so let me give you some background. St. Raphael's opened in 1972. Big, ugly concrete building in downtown Rochester. Total brutalist nightmare architecture, you know? But it was state-of-the-art back then. 16 floors, 400 beds, the whole deal. I talked to some nurses who've been there since the 80s. They all say the same thing. The elevator buttons go 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 12, then it skips to 14. No button for 13. And if you ask about it, everyone just says it's superstition. Lots of buildings skip the 13th floor, right? Except, here's what's weird. I found the original construction documents from 1971. The building was designed with 13 floors. I'm looking at the blueprints right now. Floor 13 was supposed to be the psychiatric ward. 48 beds, group therapy rooms, the works. But in the final building inspection from March 1972, there's this note. Written in red pen. Floor 13 sealed as per agreement with Diocese. Alternative space provided floor 6. The Diocese, as in the Catholic Church. Why would the Catholic Church get involved in hospital construction? So I started digging, and I found out that in 1994, St. Raphael's had this head psychiatrist, Dr. Richard Brennan, 42 years old, Yale-educated, supposedly brilliant. He'd been at the hospital since it opened. On Halloween night, 1994, Dr. Brennan was working late. His nurse that night was a woman named Jennifer Wallace, 26 years old. She had a 5-year-old daughter at home. At 3:47 a.m., someone called 911 from inside the hospital. The dispatcher's log says the call came from extension 1347, floor 13, room 47. By the time the police arrived 6 minutes later, they found Dr. Brennan in his office on floor 6, dead, self-inflicted gunshot wound. They found Nurse Wallace in the basement near the old boiler room, also dead. No clear cause. The autopsy said cardiac arrest from acute psychological shock. They never found whoever made the 911 call. And here's the thing that made my blood go cold. When I pulled the employee records, Dr. Brennan's office phone extension was 0647, floor 6, room 47. But that 911 call came from extension 1347, a floor that doesn't exist. I'm gonna play you the call now. I've edited out the dispatcher's personal info, but everything else is exactly what was on that tape. It's only 93 seconds long. I've listened to this maybe 200 times, and every time I hear something new, something worse. Before I play it, you need to know. The voice on this recording, when I ran it through audio analysis software, the computer couldn't identify if it was male or female. The pitch keeps changing, and there's this second voice underneath. Like someone else is speaking the exact same words at the exact same time, but delayed by half a second. Okay, here it is. So the dispatcher answers, right? Standard stuff. 911, what's your emergency? Then there's this breathing, really shallow, fast, and the voice says, I'm on floor 13, St. Raphael's Hospital. You need to send someone. The dispatcher asks which floor, and the voice says it again, floor 13. She's confused, obviously. She's like, sir, St. Raphael's doesn't have a 13th floor. And the voice, God, the voice just says, I know, that's the problem. Then the dispatcher asks for a name, and there's this long silence, like 20 seconds of just breathing. You can hear something in the background. Sounds like, I don't know, like metal scraping on concrete, and someone crying very far away. Finally, the voice comes back and says, my name is Richard Brennan. I'm the head of psychiatry. I need you to understand something. Floor 13 was never closed. They just stopped letting people leave. The dispatcher's trying to get a location, asking if he's in danger, standard crisis intervention, but he just keeps talking over her. He says, there are 47 patients up here. We've been treating them since 1972, but we're not doctors. We're not helping them. We're feeding them. And then, I swear to God, you can hear another voice in the background, a woman's voice, Jennifer Wallace maybe. She's screaming, it's in the walls, it's in the walls. Dr. Brennan's voice gets real quiet. He says, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep bringing them food. Tell my wife I'm sorry. Tell her I didn't know what it would become. The dispatcher's begging him to stay on the line, and he says one more thing before the call cuts out. It's not a hospital. It's a stomach, and we're all being digested. Then there's this sound, like wet tearing and screaming, and the line goes dead. 93 seconds. That's all that was recorded. But here's what really messed me up. When I checked the timestamp on the tape against hospital records, Dr. Brennan was already dead when this call was made. The coroner put his time of death at 3:31 a.m. The 911 call came in at 3:47 a.m., 16 minutes after he died. So, obviously, I couldn't just let this go. My supervisor told me to delete the file and forget about it. He literally said, Alex, this is above your pay grade, way above. But, how do you forget something like that? I started digging through every archive I could access. Hospital records, city building permits, old newspapers. I became that guy, the one who doesn't sleep, who has conspiracy boards on his wall. My girlfriend actually left me over this. She said I was obsessed. She wasn't wrong. But I found stuff, really disturbing stuff. First, I tracked down the construction crew that built St. Raphael's in 1971. Most of them are dead now, but I found one guy, Manuel Rodriguez. He's 78, lives in a nursing home outside Buffalo. I drove up there last month, brought him photos of the building, and the second he saw them, he crossed himself. This old Catholic guy, and his hands were shaking. He told me that in February 1972, right before the hospital opened, the diocese sent priests to bless floor 13. But it wasn't a blessing. He watched them through the windows. They were performing an exorcism. Manuel said they spent 3 days up there, priests chanting in Latin, burning incense, sprinkling holy water everywhere. And on the last day, they sealed all the doors. Not locked them, sealed them. Welded metal plates over the doorways, poured concrete in the stairwells. Then they took the elevator buttons out, reprogrammed the system to skip from floor 12 to floor 14. Manuel asked the foreman what was going on. You know what the foreman told him? Something got in during construction. They tried to remove it, but it was already part of the building, so they're just going to seal it in and let it starve. Let it starve. But here's the thing. If they sealed floor 13 in 1972, before the hospital even opened, how was Dr. Brennan treating patients up there in 1994? That's when I found the employee records. From 1972 to 1994, St. Raphael's had a department that doesn't appear on any official documentation, no budget line, no insurance billing, nothing. But in the internal employee database, there's this entry, Special Psychiatric Services, Floor 13. It had a staff of 6 people. Dr. Richard Brennan was the director. Jennifer Wallace was the night nurse. And get this, every single one of those 6 employees started on March 15, 1972, the exact day the hospital opened. For 22 years, they worked on a floor that officially didn't exist. I found their time cards. They clocked in on floor 6, but there were gaps, hours every day where they just disappeared from the system. No badge swipes, no security camera footage. But the payroll records show they were working somewhere. I also found something else, medication orders. Huge quantities of antipsychotics, sedatives, restraints, all signed out by Dr. Brennan, but never logged to any patient on floors 1 through 16. Where were these medications going? And who the hell were the 47 patients? This is where it gets really bad. I found the patient files. See, when hospitals upgrade their systems, old data sometimes gets left behind on decommissioned servers. And I'm IT, right? I have access to everything, including a backup server from 1995 that nobody's touched in 30 years. I found a directory labeled Ward 13, Archive. There were 47 patient files. Each one had an intake photo, medical history, treatment notes, standard stuff. Except none of these patients appear in the hospital's main database. It's like they were completely separate from the rest of the hospital. The first patient was admitted March 15, 1972, opening day. Her name was Patricia Hollis, 62 years old, diagnosed with acute psychotic break with religious delusions. Her intake photo shows a normal-looking older woman, gray hair, tired eyes, but in her file, there's this note from Dr. Brennan. Patient claims she is not Patricia Hollis, states she came through with the building and doesn't understand why she has this body. Extremely agitated, sedation required. Over the next 6 months, there are more photos, progress photos, I guess, but Patricia looks different in each one. Not like she's getting better or worse, like she's changing. Her face gets longer, her eyes are farther apart. By the last photo, taken in September 1972, she doesn't look human anymore. And the notes. Jesus Christ, the notes! Dr. Brennan writes, patient continues to insist she is not human, but rather the space between floors. has stopped eating normal food, now only accepts nutritional paste and seems to be absorbing it through skin contact. Restraints no longer necessary as patient has become docile, almost catatonic, but aware, always aware. Every single patient file is like this. 47 people, all admitted on opening day in 1972, all with the same pattern, normal at first, then changing, becoming something else. Patient number 12 was a man named Thomas Chen, 34 years old. The notes say he emerged from the air duct system during construction and immediately attacked workers, screaming that they were filling his lungs with rheums. Patient number 29 was listed as unknown female, age unknown, found in the elevator shaft between floors 12 and 13. When they pulled her out, she was speaking fluent Latin, medieval Latin. She'd been dead for approximately 300 years according to the decomposition, but she was walking and talking. This can't be real, right? This has to be some kind of hoax. But I found Dr. Brennan's personal notes, handwritten journal entries scanned into the system. October 30th, 1994, one day before he died. He writes, "I can't keep doing this. 22 years of feeding them, 22 years of watching them change. The diocese said if we kept them sedated, kept them contained, they would eventually fade away. But they're not fading. They're growing stronger, more aware." Patient 47 spoke to me today, first time in 19 years. It looked at me with those eyes that aren't eyes, and it said, "We know what the building is. We know what it's becoming. And when there are enough of us, the walls won't hold anymore." Jennifer wants to quit. I don't blame her. I want to quit. But they told us if we abandon our posts, if we stop the treatments, the patients will find a way out, into the real floors, into the real world. And then, his last entry, October 31st, 1994, 2:17 a.m. It's too late. They're out. Patient 47 opened its door from the inside. I don't know how. The locks were supposed to be unbreakable, but I heard the metal screaming, and now the door to floor 13 is open. I can hear them in the walls, all 47 of them, moving through the building like blood through veins. Jennifer is in the basement. She called me crying. She says she can see them in the pipes, in the electrical wiring, in the spaces between the floors. It's too late. I'm going to finish this. I'm going to make sure they can't use me, can't use us. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. That was his last entry. 6 hours later, he was dead. So was Jennifer. And the 911 call came from floor 13. I needed answers from the church. The Diocese of Rochester has been around since 1868. If they were involved in sealing floor 13, there'd be records. So I did something probably illegal. I called the diocese offices pretending to be a researcher writing a book about hospital history, got transferred to their archives department, and I got lucky. The archivist was this older guy, Father Marcus, who actually remembered hearing stories about St. Raphael's. We met at a coffee shop. I brought copies of the building permits, the construction photos, and Father Marcus, he got really quiet when he saw them. He told me to follow him. We drove to the diocese headquarters, this old stone building downtown. He took me down to the basement archives, rows and rows of filing cabinets going back 150 years. He pulled out a folder marked St. Raphael's Hospital, Consecration Issue, 1971. Inside was a letter, dated November 3rd, 1971, written by the hospital's construction foreman to Bishop James Kearney. I'm going to read you part of it. Reading, "Your Excellency, I write to inform you of a matter of grave spiritual concern. During excavation of the foundation for St. Raphael's Hospital, my crew encountered a structure beneath the construction site. It appears to be a mass burial vault, possibly dating to the cholera epidemic of 1832. We broke through the vault ceiling on October 28th. Inside, we found approximately 300 bodies. But, Your Excellency, these bodies have not decayed. They appear to be in a state of preservation that defies natural explanation. And since the vault was opened, my workers have reported severe nightmares, unexplained illnesses, and disturbing visions. 3 men have quit. 2 have been hospitalized for psychiatric evaluation. They claim the bodies in the vault are watching them, that they can hear voices coming from the burial site even when they are miles away. I have ordered the vault sealed immediately and construction to continue. However, I believe the site requires ecclesiastical intervention before the hospital opens. Father Marcus showed me the bishop's response. The bishop sent a team of exorcists, not just priests, exorcists. They performed rituals for 3 months straight. But here's the thing, they couldn't cleanse the site. The report from the head exorcist, Father Thomas Whitmore, it's absolutely terrifying. He writes, "The entities inhabiting this ground are not demonic in nature. They are something older. They existed before the concept of demons, before Christianity, before human religion of any kind. They are spaces given consciousness, voids that learn to think. When the burial vault was opened, when human remains were placed in proximity to this awareness, it began to understand form, to comprehend flesh. We cannot remove it. It has rooted itself in the foundation of the building. It is the foundation now. The best we can do is contain it to 1 floor. We will seal floor 13 and pray that it remains dormant." But it didn't remain dormant, did it? Father Marcus showed me one more document, a memo from 1972 marked Confidential, Diocesan Eyes Only. It's an agreement between the diocese and St. Raphael's Hospital administration. The diocese would provide funding for a special psychiatric ward on floor 13. The ward would be staffed by carefully selected personnel who understood the unique nature of the patients. The patients weren't sick people. They were the things from the burial vault, the ones that had learned to wear human shapes. The diocese was paying the hospital to keep them contained, to keep them fed, to keep them alive. For 22 years, Dr. Brennan and his staff were basically zookeepers for something that shouldn't exist. On Halloween 1994, the animals got out of their cages. I asked Father Marcus why the church didn't just destroy the building. He looked at me like I was crazy. Because they're in the building now, in the concrete, in the wiring, in the pipes. If we demolish it, where do you think they'll go? They'll be released into the ground, into the city. We have to keep them contained. St. Raphael's isn't a hospital anymore. It's a prison. I had to see it for myself. Floor 13, or where it was supposed to be. I know that sounds stupid, suicidal even, but I had to know if it was real. So 3 nights ago, I went back to the hospital. I still have my employee badge. Security knows me. I told them I was fixing a network issue on floor 14. Nobody questioned it. I took the stairs. You know that feeling when you're walking upstairs and you expect another step, but there isn't one? That little jolt of vertigo? That's what the whole stairwell felt like. I went up from floor 12. The stairs are normal. Concrete, metal railing, that gross institutional green paint. But between 12 and 14, there's this space. The stairs go up like normal, but where the landing for floor 13 should be, there's just a wall. A concrete wall painted the same green, but you can see where they sealed it. The outline of the door is still there, just barely visible under layers of paint. And I swear to God, I could hear something on the other side. It was like breathing, but not human breathing, more like the building itself was inhaling and exhaling. And underneath that, I heard voices. Dozens of voices, all talking at once but too quiet to understand. I put my hand on the wall. It was warm. Not room temperature, warm, like body temperature. And I felt it move, just slightly, like something on the other side pressed back against my hand. I jerked my hand away and I saw something that made my blood run cold. In the concrete, scratched from the other side, barely visible, the number 13. And below it, scratched in different handwriting, different depths. Let us out. We're still people. Please. It hurts to be building. I ran. I'm not ashamed to say it. I ran down those stairs so fast I almost fell. But as I was running, I heard something behind me. Footsteps coming down the stairs from floor 14, which doesn't make sense because nobody was up there when I passed it. I looked back. There was someone on the stairs, but the way they were moving, they weren't walking down. They were flowing down, like their body was liquid pouring down the steps. And their face, it kept changing. 1 second it looked like an old woman, then a young man, then a child, then nothing human at all. I made it to floor 6, crashed through the door into the hallway. The thing didn't follow me. Or maybe it did and I just can't see it. I checked the security footage later. The camera in the stairwell between 12 and 14 has been broken since 1994. It's been broken for 30 years and nobody's ever fixed it. Why wouldn't you fix a security camera? Unless you didn't want to see what was there. I pulled the maintenance records. That camera gets a repair request filed every 3 months, but it's always marked as low priority, defer indefinitely. They know something's there. The hospital administration knows. Security knows. They've known for 30 years. And they're just leaving it there. I found one of the other staff members. Remember I said Dr. Brennan had a team of 6? He and Jennifer died in 1994, but 4 others survived. I tracked down Margaret Sullivan. She was a psychiatric nurse on floor 13 from 1972 to 1988. She's 79 years old now, lives alone in an apartment in Syracuse. It took me 2 weeks to convince her to talk to me. When I finally showed up at her door, she had me come inside, made me wait while she checked every lock on every window. Then she made me recite the Lord's Prayer before she'd sit down with me. Her entire apartment is covered in crucifixes. I'm not exaggerating, hundreds of them, on every wall, above every door. She even has them taped to her ceiling. She told me everything. Margaret said that when she started in 1972, they explained it to her as a special program for psychologically disturbed patients with violent tendencies. The diocese was funding it. The pay was triple what she'd make on a normal floor. She needed the money. She was a single mom. So she took the job. At first, it seemed normal. She'd report to Dr. Brennan's office on floor 6, then they'd take a service elevator up. But the elevator didn't have buttons. It only went to one place, floor 13. The doors would open, and she said it was like walking into a completely different building. The air was wrong, she told me. Too thick, too warm. And the walls, they weren't the same color as the rest of the hospital. They were this organic kind of off-white, like bone. The patients were kept in individual rooms, 47 rooms down a long hallway. Each door had triple locks and a small observation window. Margaret's job was to deliver medications and monitor vital signs. She wasn't supposed to talk to the patients. She wasn't supposed to make eye contact. But of course, she did. She said the patients looked human at first, but the longer she worked there, the more she noticed little things. Their proportions were slightly off. Their eyes didn't blink at the right intervals. When they spoke, their mouths didn't always match the words. And they knew things they shouldn't know. Patient 23, a man named David something, he spoke to her one day. Just 3 words. "Susan misses you." Susan was Margaret's daughter, 4 years old at the time. Margaret said, "I never told anyone at work that I had a daughter. I never wore pictures. I kept my personal life completely separate, but he knew her name." She asked Dr. Brennan about it. He told her to never, ever engage with the patients. "They're not like us," he said. "They can sense things, feel things through the building. Every time you're inside the hospital, they know you're there. They know everything about you." Long pause. Margaret worked on floor 13 for 16 years. She quit in 1988 because of patient 47. She described it as the one that was learning fastest. It had been admitted in 1972 as a middle-aged man named Robert Chambers. By 1988, it barely looked human anymore. Its face had gotten too smooth, no pores, no wrinkles, no imperfections, like a mannequin. And its eyes were completely black, no whites, no iris, just black. Margaret said that one night she was making her rounds and patient 47 was standing at the observation window, just staring at her. And it said, "Margaret, I know where Susan goes to school. I know the route she walks home. I know which window is her bedroom." She quit the next day, took Susan and moved to Syracuse, changed their last name. She told me that in October 1994, when she heard about Dr. Brennan and Jennifer dying, she wasn't surprised. "I'm surprised they lasted that long," she said. "We were feeding something that was getting smarter every day, learning us, learning how to be us. Eventually, it was going to figure out it didn't need us anymore." I asked her if she thinks the patients are still on floor 13. She looked at me with these tired, haunted eyes and said, "No, I think they're everywhere now. I think they've been spreading through the hospital for 30 years, through the walls, through the pipes, wearing the faces of staff members who disappear and get replaced. I think St. Raphael's has been digesting people slowly, and nobody notices because it does it one person at a time." Then she asked me to leave. As I was walking out, she grabbed my arm. She said, "Don't go back there. Whatever you think you're looking for, it's not worth it. The building remembers everyone who's ever been inside. And if you've been to floor 13... She didn't finish the sentence. So, here's where we are right now. St. Raphael's Hospital is still operating, still treating patients, still fully accredited. Nothing on the surface suggests anything is wrong. But I've been watching, and once you know what to look for, you can't unsee it. 2 weeks ago, I parked across the street from the hospital at 2 a.m., just watching the building, counting floors. Every floor was lit up, normal hospital activity, except there's this dark band between floor 12 and floor 14. You wouldn't notice it unless you were specifically looking. It's just dark. No lights, no windows visible. But at 3:47 a.m., the exact time that 911 call was made in 1994, I saw lights. Faint lights, moving behind where the windows should be on floor 13, like people walking around with flashlights. Or maybe not people. I've been pulling staff records, quietly, without anyone knowing. Since 1994, St. Raphael's has had an employee turnover rate of about 8% annually. Pretty normal for a hospital. But here's what's weird. Every year, approximately 3 staff members are reported as missing. Not quit, not transferred, missing, as in they show up for work one day and are never seen again. Their badges stay active in the system, their final paychecks get direct deposited to their accounts, but if you try to contact them, the phone numbers are disconnected. The addresses are vacant. Over 30 years, that's 90 people. 90 people who vanished while working at St. Raphael's Hospital. I also found something in the security system. There are cameras on every floor, except between 12 and 14. That stairwell I told you about, the one with the broken camera? The camera's not broken. It's been turned off, manually disabled in the security system with an admin override. The timestamp on the override is March 15, 1972. It's been deliberately turned off for 54 years. And I found the access logs. Someone checks that override every month to make sure it stays off. The admin account is labeled Diocese Maintenance. The church is still involved. I called the diocese again, asked to speak to Father Marcus, the archivist who helped me before. They told me Father Marcus retired suddenly last week, moved to a monastery in Vermont. No forwarding information. I think they know I'm digging. 3 days ago, I got an email at my work address. No sender name, just a subject line. Stop. The email body was empty except for an attachment, an audio file. I was stupid enough to open it. It was the 911 call, the one from floor 13, but it was different. Dr. Brennan's voice was there, same as before, but at the end, after he says, "We're all being digested," there's more. There's my voice. I swear to God, it's my voice on that recording from 1994, 32 years before I was born. And I'm saying, he's here now. Alex is here. We can use him. We can finally leave through him. I don't remember saying that. I've never been to floor 13. Not inside it anyway. But last night, I woke up at 3:47 a.m. and my sheets were covered in concrete dust. And there was a handprint on my wall in the same off-white color Margaret described, the color of the walls on floor 13. The handprint had 6 fingers. I know what's happening to me. I'm becoming one of them, one of the patients. The building has been digesting me since the first time I accessed those files, maybe even before that. I thought I was investigating, but I was being called. See, I figured it out. The 47 patients weren't random. They were the construction workers, the ones who opened the burial vault in 1971. They got infected by whatever was down there, and when the hospital was built over it, they couldn't leave. The building absorbed them, turned them into part of its structure, and for 22 years, the diocese paid Dr. Brennan to keep them sedated, keep them contained. But they got smarter. Patient 47 figured out how to open the locks from the inside, and on Halloween 1994, they got out. They didn't leave the hospital, though. They became the hospital. They're in the walls now, in the foundation, in the electrical systems, and they're still learning, still evolving. Every person who works at St. Raphael's for more than 5 years starts to change, slowly. So slowly nobody notices, but they're being absorbed, replaced. The diocese knows. Hospital administration knows. They've been managing it for 30 years, making sure it happens slowly enough that nobody panics, making sure the building stays fed. Those 90 missing employees? They're not missing. They're still there, in the building, as the building. And now, it wants me. Last night, I looked in my bathroom mirror, and behind me in the reflection, I wasn't in my apartment anymore. I was standing in a hospital corridor, and on the wall behind me, I could see the number 13. But when I turned around, I was still in my bathroom. The building is bleeding through into my apartment, or maybe I'm bleeding through into the building. I don't know which way it's going anymore. I can hear them now. All the time. The patients, the staff, everyone who's ever been absorbed. They're all talking at once, all inside my head. They're saying I'm almost ready, that I'm almost one of them, that soon I won't remember being Alex anymore. I'm posting this video from a public library 3 hours away from Rochester. I drove all night to get here. I thought distance would help. But my apartment keys are in my pocket, and when I looked at them just now, they're not apartment keys anymore. They're hospital access cards for St. Raphael's with my employee photo on them. Except in the photo, I'm wearing scrubs, and the background behind me is the hallway on floor 13, and my badge says my hire date is March 15th, 1972. I don't know how much time I have left, so I need you to listen to me. If you work at St. Raphael's Hospital in Rochester, New York, quit. Quit today. Don't give notice. Just leave and never go back. If you've ever been a patient there, if you've ever visited someone there, if you've spent any significant time in that building, start paying attention. Pay attention to your reflections. Make sure they match. Pay attention to your keys. Make sure they still open the right doors. Pay attention to your memories. Make sure you remember being born. Make sure you remember your childhood. Because if you can't remember those things clearly, if they feel fuzzy or distant, you might not be you anymore. The building is still there, still operating, still taking patients, still hiring staff, and it's growing. I found architectural permits last week. They're planning an expansion, a new wing, 6 more floors. And floor 13 isn't going to be empty anymore. They're going to fill it. My phone's been ringing. I don't recognize the number, but when I let it go to voicemail, I can hear breathing on the other end. And underneath the breathing, I can hear voices chanting in Latin. And I can hear Dr. Brennan. He keeps saying, "Come home, Alex. Come home to floor 13. We've been waiting for you. We've been waiting since the building was born." I'm going to end this recording now. I'm going to post it, and then I'm going to drive. I don't know where, as far as I can get. But honestly, I don't think it matters how far I go. I can feel the building inside me now, like a weight in my chest, like my bones are turning to concrete, like my blood is turning to pipes. If you see me at St. Raphael's Hospital, walking the halls, wearing scrubs, looking like I belong there, that's not me anymore. That's floor 13. And it's hungry.